what happens. Having me a little drinky poop. And a little Farbucks. Salute. We'll see what's going on this fine Sunday afternoon. Just chilling. Out for my walkabout, taking a break, having my little drink. Then we get back at it. I appreciate you guys being here. Share a little of your day with me. Ah, looks like the notifications are going out. That's cool. But just to get into it, I don't know if you guys saw that Nick Shirley investigative reporting video. It was eye-opening, and that is just a small snippet of what is being uncovered by the Somali community there in Minnesota. And that's just one community. It's happening everywhere. Everywhere we got these little foreign enclaves here in the United States, they're all doing the same shit. And it's all about to come crashing down around their heads. And God help Ilhan Omar if it's found out that she has anything or any connection to these fraudulent daycares, because heads are going to roll. Heads are going to roll. Oh, yeah. I couldn't believe it. Nick Shirley. And I shared Asmongold because I like Asmongold. I shared his video doing a reaction to Nick Shirley. It's in the community post, if you don't know what I'm talking about. And it's amazing. It's amazing. He did a 42-minute video exposing $110 million of taxpayer fraud by one community. And it all had to do with daycare centers. Daycare centers. Went to a whole hell of a lot of daycare centers there in Minnesota, specifically in the Minneapolis metro area, all run by Somalis, all receiving taxpayer grants from the state and federal. So Walls better watch his balls, because since now federal funds are intermingled with this, they're going to be coming after that ass. That socialist ass, they're going to be coming after it. Because the feds are about to be involved. Fuck your state running interference. No, the feds are going in. Going to get that ass. What's up, Monica? Hello, Taylor. Be quiet. No, I won't be quiet. Of course not. It'd be kind of a dull life if I just sat here and shut up and drank my coffee. No. And you can't make me. We'll get all 5-year-old in this shit. I am at the 220s. I don't know exactly. I did it about 2 months ago. I was about 225. I don't know where I'm at now, to be honest. But my clothes are fitting great. And as a matter of fact, I posted some selfies for the neck haters. The neck haters. If you wish to go look at my community post, I took a couple of shots with me wearing my tank top to show you what's going on here, and here for the neck haters. I think I'm doing pretty good for being in the gym. I don't know. I think I started, 3 months ago? 3 months? About 3 months ago. And I can't get in every day. So I think I'm doing all right for all the neck haters. People just can't stand it when you do fantastic in life, man, because they make poor life decisions and you wind up doing better than them and lapping them. They can't handle it. So I just thought I'd rub it in just a little bit. Well, thank you, Kristen. Yeah. 400 pounds, 2024. I'm in my 220s right now, kicking ass. I'm walking right now because I don't like doing the cardio in the gym. I'd rather get out here at the park or wherever and get my cardio in that way. At least while the weather's nice. Obviously, if it's dog shit weather out, you don't want to be out there. But man, I did not. I worked yesterday, and I was not feeling it. I was not feeling it. I drugged my ass and kicked my ass harder than I normally do because I wasn't feeling it. So I was kind of punishing myself a little bit. But whatever gets the job done. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, and I mean that. Can I do a pull-up now? I don't know. I haven't tried. Well, thank you. And you're looking particularly fantastic yourself. I don't know, DJ. That was the funniest thing. Look, I mean, it is what it is, right? I'm not knocking the guy for doing 185 three times or running a mile. I can't run a mile. I never will be. It's never going to be in my wheelhouse, right? The asthma just will not let me do it. So I lift weights, right? So I go with my strengths. I can lift some weights. I ain't a runner. I never have been. That's just the reality of life. But if the guy's going to come in here flexing on a 50-year-old, this guy can go in there and bench 185, and he goes to the gym 3 times a week. I get in maybe once or twice a week if I'm lucky because of work. You know, it's slow right now, so I could do some more live feeds and I go to the gym a little bit more. But it's just like, it's not quite the flex you think it is. I mean, it's good that you're getting in shape. I ain't knocking you on that, but I'm not out here flexing on people like, oh, I could do this and this weight. I'm not. That's not what I'm doing. You know, everyone goes at their own pace. Everyone has, I don't know. Everyone has muscle groups that some they have to work on, and some that they do pretty well at. Like me, I have to really work on my chest because it's, for whatever reason, it doesn't want to. It's just harder for me to develop the chest more than the other muscle groups. Okay. I'm quasi-local. I still go out over the road. It's just not. I'm just not out 6 to 8 weeks like I used to. I don't know if I actually want to go full-time local, to be honest. I don't mind being out overnight. Like I said, I did the local a long time before I was with CAG. And local's not what it's cracked up to be, guys. Yeah, you're home every night, but most of your day, you're still working 12 to 14-hour days, which means depending on what your commute is to and from your terminal to get your truck, and you're slip seating most of the time. So you're gonna wait for your partner to come back, and then if they get delayed, your whole night gets delayed, and then you maybe get 6 to 8 hours at home, like I said, depending on your commute. So that's barely enough time to go home, choke down some dinner, get some sleep. You're not even getting a full 8 hours of sleep. I got tired of that. I did it almost a decade. It wasn't what it was cracked up to be. I'd rather just be regional, honestly. Yeah, I know. I just saw that whole. I was like, I don't know. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's cool, Kristen. No, but seriously, man, $110 million just in daycare fraud. Daycare fraud in Minneapolis. Are you kidding me? And this is all taxpayer funded. These are what the citizens of Minnesota are getting soaked for. If you're having to work an extra shift and you can't get a pothole filled, or the bridge keeps collapsing, or the taxes just keep going up because they never could find enough money, it's because they're getting soaked by these immigrants coming over there and taking all your shit. You understand that? You're working for these animals coming from a third world country. They can't figure out their own fucking country, filled with a land, people just like them. But they're going to come over here and soak you, the rich white people. It's unbelievable. And they're being allowed to get away with it. I just like, what are you doing? and they're being so out in the open and braggadocious about it on social media. Who was that one that went viral? It's like, oh, you're my little slave piggy, you white animal. You remember that one? The Somali guy saying that shit? Life is already hard enough. We don't have to import bullshit, right? We have enough bullshit of our own. We have to keep bringing it back in. At least if we're going to bring in people, at least be from other first world countries, right? That understand what civilization is and what running water and what a fucking toilet's function is. A lot of these people don't even know how to use a fucking Western toilet. They try to perch on it like they're a goddamn bird because they don't know how to sit their ass on a fucking seat and do their business. They want to crouch on the goddamn thing. Crouching tiger, hidden commode. Yeah. No, I'm telling you, that's just daycare. Right? You haven't seen it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Nick Shirley. Go look up Nick Shirley. If you don't want to just see the reaction videos, you just want to see his video, just look up Nick Shirley and go watch it. It's my favorite part is where he was at this one daycare and he's knocking on the door, and this white Karen comes up, yelling, and she's got her camera out. ICE is here! Don't answer the door! Don't answer the door! It's ICE! And you got Shirley, this other guy. He's like, "What the hell are you doing, lady? What are you doing?" It's like, we're not ICE, we're not government officials, we're investigative reporting, and they're trying to explain about the fraud, and she's just sitting there. I don't care. Don't open the door. It's ICE. It's like, these people are the problem. White Karens are a fucking problem. And there's going to be a backlash at some point because these are the people with suicidal empathy that are allowed to vote. And they cancel your vote and my vote and all of our votes out. And they vote in mass. And now our country is going down the shitter because of these dipshits with suicidal empathy that don't realize what it takes to build a civilization, to maintain a civilization. And these are usually people rich enough, like upper middle class or quasi-rich, where they don't have to deal with the consequences of their own actions. And if they actually were forced to deal with the consequences of their actions, they would change their tune real fucking quick because it's easy to vote for somebody else dealing with a problem instead of you. And that way you can have all the good vibes and big emotions coming out and virtue signaling. But when you actually have to deal with it and the ramifications of your vote, their tune changes really damn quick. Really damn quick. Yeah, it was. It was. And that's just daycare. That's just a snippet. When they keep bringing these estimates of the fraud, it went from 1 billion, then it was 3 billion. Now there's up to 18 billion. Okay. This daycare shit, like I said, that was 42 minutes of investigative reporting, and it's $110 million of fraud right there. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, he went to all these Somali-owned daycare centers that had all these government grants, and they know precisely how much money these people were given because it's all public information off the Minnesota government website. And like, oh, well, this is a 70 child daycare center, right? Capacity. And they go there. There's no children. Not one damn child to be seen. And it happened over and over and over again. And these were making some were making 5, some were like $1.5 million, some were $2 million a pop a year. Federal and state grants. And when there was actually some people there, the guy's like, "Oh, I got my son. His name is Joey. He has autism. This is an autistic daycare center, right? And I want to see about enrolling him." And these Somalis are like, "No, this ain't a place for Joey." Well, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Oh, because you're white. It's a fraudulent business. For one, but two, you're white. You're not Somali. You don't belong here. That's exactly what. Go watch the video. Go watch it. It was very eye-opening. It's crazy that we're tolerating this shit. The good people of Minnesota don't have to tolerate this shit, like at all. We as American citizens do not have to tolerate this whatsoever. You know, we are in charge, and when we've had enough, we tell our politicians, like, look, I know you're trying to utilize these people for a voting block, but we'll tell you what, they're going to go home. Because as many of them as there are here now, you're pissing off a lot of actual Americans. And they will vote your ass out of office to get rid of these guys. Period. Period. Oh, and just wait. Just wait. That the Supreme Court's still deliberating on the birthright citizenship. Wait till that's ruled on. Heads are gonna fucking roll, guys. I'm telling you. We got some momentum here on the right, and we're gonna right this damn ship, whether they like it or not. Whether they like it or not, we're gonna fix shit, and we're all gonna be better off for it too when we get it done, right? So good times, hard men bring about good times. Well, now it's time to be a hard ass because the soft men have been in charge for too long, and they brought about bad times. And bad times create strong men. We're in that cycle. We're in that trough. We're about to take it back up. Unfortunately, a couple of years down the road, you have liberals coming back in. They're going to fuck everything up again. But in the meantime, we're going to get our way. We're going to get our way. I agree, Bunny. Yeah, they will. We're going to readjust how we do birthright citizenship, and they're going to go home. Look, you can say what you want. The law and the Constitution, in the end, is only what the people that live in that country say it is. Do you understand? When shit's getting fucked up and you're using our own laws against us from having a functioning society, then the Constitution is going to go right out the fucking window. Because in the end, without the faith of the people being governed, it's just ink on a piece of parchment. Do you understand what I'm saying? The people govern, not the Constitution. And if we lose faith in the Constitution or the people governing us, well, things will change. Things will change. Whether you like it or not, things are going to go change. Hey, salute. Appreciate the drive-by. The birthright citizenship is that, yeah, if you have two illegals that plop out a kid in the United States, all of a sudden that kid becomes a citizen. That's about to change. At least one of the parents is going to have to be an actual American citizen for them to qualify. But this whole thing about the birthright citizenship tourism, that's going to stop. And some of this other shit's going to stop. Well, that's going to stop. I had the pavilion to myself. I'm considerate that way. I don't want them hearing me yelling at the phone. Yeah. No. The whole thing with birthing tourism is going to stop. It's causing a lot of problems. How are you? Here is what we're really in a dire consequence of actually happening in the United States, right? The American president, and it's the only one that has a stipulation where you actually have to be a naturalized citizen in order to work for office. Well, what's going to happen when you get Ling Ling and Ding Dong who drops baby Yo-Yo and they get their American birth certificate and then they go fuck off back to China, and then that's where they're raised, and then they come back, I don't know, 35 years later. Oh no, I'm an American citizen. Here's my birth certificate right here. I'm ready for president. And then all the little socialist fucktards being propped up by communist fucking socialist scum fucking money is going to push this motherfucking candidate through to try to become the next president of the United States. What do you think is going to happen? Right? Well, I mean, it's legal. I got an American birth certificate. I was born in New Jersey or Bakersfield, whatever, right? I'm an American citizen. You think we're going to allow that to fly? Because that's the plan. They're trying to subvert our own laws to use against us. We're not going to tolerate it. We are not going to tolerate it. What's up, Tyrannus? You know, as harsh as that may seem coming from me, it's the truth. And that's the end goal. They are trying to subvert our system that we created for us. It's our system, not their system, our system. And they're trying to use it against us. It doesn't have to be tolerated. It won't be. Just give me a second. Try to give people personal space out here, guys. I guess I'd consider it that way. Otherwise, I'll look like some maniac yelling at the phone. You know, and see, here's the thing. I don't like being a hard ass about this because I actually do like people. I don't want to feel this way. I know a lot of you don't either. But they have pushed us into a corner where we're actually losing the damn country. And that's not a tenable position. It's not a tenable position. You know, I was having another flame war with somebody. I know it's a surprise, but the point I was making is that dire circumstances call for drastic measures. Right? When are we just supposed to allow society to fall around our ears? It's like, well, I guess that was a good run. Or are you going to go out there and fight for your civilization? Right? They're trying to use your tolerance against you, against us. They're trying to use our own laws against us. You know, playing rules lawyer. If you guys are into gaming, you know all about rules lawyers. It's like, no, no, we don't have to tolerate that. We want to be welcoming and open-minded and all of that, you know. We do like the cultural mixing. But, man, look. And I've said this before. Not all cultures are compatible. They're just not. You cannot mix Islam or Sharia with a Christian society. They don't mix. You don't share the same values. You don't have the same morals or ethos or anything. There is no commonality there. As a matter of fact, it's the antithesis to what your society stands for. Right? An example would be, I can't remember the author's name, but she wrote The Handmaid's Tale, right? The Handmaid's Tale. They're worried about the Christo-fascist dissolution of the American Republic, and they came up with a bunch of different regions, and one region, right? Fertility dropped, and they were whoring these girls out and making them wear these ridiculous costumes to birth people and whatnot. That's reality in Islam right now. That's what they're living right now. They're forced to wear these ridiculous religious garb. They're in polygamous relationships that basically they're turned into baby factories because they have no rights. That's reality right now. But they're worried about Christians. No. You got 2 billion Muslims out there doing that shit right now. Right now. Right? But you don't hear anything about that. But we're importing all these people in. And it's changing the dynamic of our voting and our politicians. And eventually it's going to affect our rights. Right? It's going to... People just don't know. It's all going on top of its head. Just a sec. I need some mints. Oh, shit. Still need to drop it. Be right back. Unfortunately, we're going to have to harden up as a people and become less tolerant. And we can't allow these white Karens to get in our way from saving society. We're just not going to have to be able to tolerate them anymore. That's why you see such a shift in the zeitgeist on social media right now. You know, people not acting responsibly and maintaining their civilization is allowing people like a Nick Fuentes to come about and take control of a narrative. Especially after they assassinated Charlie Kirk. He was the next runner-up, the next young person on the right. Because as mean as a lot of people thought Charlie Kirk was, he was actually pretty milquetoast. And he was keeping the forces of people like Nick Fuentes at bay. And now that stopgap is no longer there. Now the floodgates are open. You know? Truly is a trip. You know? The problem is, and I've said this before, are the socialists. The socialists are the damn problem. The Marxists. Walls out of Minnesota is an avowed socialist. Mamdani is a socialist. He's about to fuck up New York City. You know, all these socialist politicians and socialist professors in universities and embedded in our bureaucracies, they all got to go. They got to go. You know, when Joe McCarthy was out there back in the day during the Red Scare, well, there was a reason for that. Everything that Joe McCarthy prophesized and was telling was wrong turned out to be true. Hollywood was filled with communist scum that wanted to end the United States. And he wasn't going to sit there and take it. And they smeared him for it. Because the Reds were in charge of the propaganda machine called Hollywood. That's the only reason he gets any backlash. But it turns out he was right. He was right about everything. Gotta get some space between me and them. Might have to go the other way. Let's see. That's pushed by our culture and Hollywood mainstream media happens to be against the word of God and destroying our society. I know. And I'm not even particularly religious, to be honest. I'm not. But I tell you what, if it keeps going this way, it's already having an effect. Even in Europe, has been headed towards secularism for a long time. But because of all the radical elements they've been importing into Europe, the churches are starting to fill up again. They're starting to fill up again. You know, because for better or worse, religion is a civilizational binder. It gives people common cause and common beliefs and ethos. That's why the Islam is so prevalent, because they stick together. They're very cliquish, and they're all held together by the Quran. And if anybody steps out of line with that, in a lot of these countries, they get beheaded. You have your Sharia kings running around, making sure you're wearing your religious garb, and you know which way east is. Make sure you're not drinking any alcohol. Basically, it's a Muslim vice squad to make sure you're not out there having a good time. That's what it is. But the society tolerates it. And when they build these little enclaves, here in the United States or Europe or whatnot, these are the things they implement. How many times you heard about France? They have these no-go zones and they have Sharia courts. And the French are like, oui, let them have it. Goes totally against French morals and values and law. But what are they going to do? They actually have to have a backbone to go in there and break all the shit up. They don't want to do it. No, they're filling back up, dude. Yeah, because our law, Christian law, Western law is superior because we actually have a thing called individual rights. We have civil rights. You don't have that. We don't force our women to wear ridiculous religious garb and treat them like chattel. They have rights. Our women have rights. They can own property. They can go to work. They can vote. And yeah, Western values are superior. They are the superior morals, values, and ethos. That's why our civilizations are so much greater. That's why everyone around the world is trying to come to Western civilization, because we figured this shit out and we're prosperous for it. Because we have a rule of law and we have civil rights. These third world dumpster fires, they can't get out of their own way because they're filled with people that don't understand civilization. It is what it is. You don't have to like it. That's just reality. No. They have those rights specifically because of Western values. You realize it was Western societies that ended slavery? You understand that? You know, that slavery has been a part of the human condition and industry since man began walking upright. And it took the British in the 1830s to end it for Western civilization. White people ended slavery. At least in Europe and America. Later on in America. They still practice slavery right now in the Middle East. You realize that? Right now. Hell, even in North Africa, Libya, right now, you can go buy yourself a slave. It's about $600. Go buy yourself a slave. Open air slave market, Libya. It's not tolerated over here, but it's tolerated over there. You tell me why. Salute, Alex. I gotta read this. I got glare on the phone. White people started slavery. No, they didn't. No. I don't like slavery. No. And see, that's you're showing your ignorance. White people did not start slavery. We bought slaves, but we didn't start it. Slavery's been around for a long time, and everyone's been through it. You had Chinese slaves, Mongolian slaves, Japanese had slaves, Indians, Hindus had slaves. Everyone has had slaves. All right? Everyone. From ancient Greece to Rome, the Huns, everyone. Never recorded history. Sumerians, Babylonians, the Persians in general, Syrians, Hittites, Etruscans, oh God, Egyptians, Carthaginians. They all had slaves, and they weren't all white people. I hate to break your little heart. Hate to break your little heart. But it was white people that ended the practice in Western societies because it no longer became tolerant, precisely because, drum roll please, Christianity. Slavery went against Christian ideals and beliefs, and the people finally had enough. So in the 1830s, they had the British go out there and start sinking slave ships. They weren't tolerating it anymore. And you know what happened? Slavery was actually a retarding factor on our societal development. Do you know what happened when they ended slavery? We had the Industrial Revolution. And it was no longer necessary. Right? So instead of relying on cheap chattel slavery, the people put their minds together and they invented machinery to do the job, to replace the slaves in the fields. It's the truth, go look it up. People don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. They just want to hear white people bad. No, not really. If we were so god-awful, why is everyone trying to come here? If we were so racist and ugly and vile as a people, why the hell is everyone trying to come to our countries? You need to really think about that. Let's see. Who's this guy anyway? Fuck him. He comes back, he comes back. You know, there's a lot of truth when they say that when you import the third world, you wind up with third world. Because they come in such great numbers and they're being subsidized by your own government, that they don't have the same societal pressures or economic pressures that you and I are having. Another thing we don't tolerate in Christian civilizations are child brides, who are still very much a practice today in a lot of Islamic countries. Syria, Yemen, some of the North African countries. You can marry a girl as young as 8. As young as 8. Literal child brides. Disgusting. But these are the people with these values that think it's perfectly okay. This is also why that where a lot of these Islamists went, especially in Europe, because they share a land border with these people. Thank God we got an ocean between us and them. Europe doesn't have that. They have to circle around the Mediterranean and go through it, but it's not like the whole ass Atlantic Ocean. That's why you're seeing some of these child rape gangs, like in Europe and Britain. And because I say that because Britain thinks they're not part of Europe. They're their own thing. It absolutely had to do with religion. 100%. If it wasn't for Christian morals and values, there never would have been an abolitionist. The whole point of abolition was rooted in Christianity. I should not have to tell you people this, man. This is basic shit. It 100% had to do with religion. Go look it up. Yeah, indentured servants, right? You talking about some brutalized people. They're like, well, that doesn't count because they got their freedom after 7 years. If they lived, or didn't have other charges, monetary fines or anything thrown on top of them, right, that they had to make up. Because even though they were considered property for those 7 years, any expenses incurred by that person under their care, that wasn't free. That wasn't free. They charged them for it. Some were able to get out under the yoke of indentured servitude. A lot of them didn't. They never made it because they were brutalized while they were servants. You know, and they would just go get the next crop of them. The only reason they stopped using them over here in the United States is because they were too fair-skinned and they were burning up in the heat. So they started shopping around other parts of the world. West Africa, and there was a vibrant slave market. Tribes going after each other, capturing each other, these little skirmishes and throwing them on the market. It was Africans capturing other Africans. And they were just out there buying it, right? They were the dealers, we were the users, in other words. Pretty fucked up system, but it is. It wasn't white people with nets in fucking Africa going out there and rounding these people up and selling them on the fucking markets. It was other African tribes doing that and then forcing their tribal rivals up on the stage to sell them off for a quick, shilling. I guess that would be back then. But whatever. Oh, and mind you, they had been selling slaves to the Middle East, the Arabs and the Persians, for a long time. And as bad as you thought we treated our slaves, which was pretty bad, had nothing on the Arabs. They'd buy these slaves and they make eunuchs out of them. And like 1 in 4 didn't survive that process because they weren't going to import all these guys going in the Middle East to do the work and have them fucking their women and making little fucking making little babies with the women out there. So they just cut off their dick and balls. And that's why you don't see a lot of black people running around in the Middle East. Sad but true. It is what it is. They're doing that right now, to this day. Buying these people over in Libya, and they're being shipped off to the Middle East and other parts of Africa. When you're out there like, oh my God, Dubai is such a beautiful place. It's a modern marvel. Built by slaves, maintained by slaves. It just is. I would never visit Dubai. Fuck Dubai. You visit Dubai, you're literally supporting slavery. Straight up. And like I said, that's not leaving our ancestors off the hook. I'm just saying that we've always been as fucked up as it is as a practice. We were more humane than other cultures because of Christianity. And because of Christianity, we ended the practice. And like I said, this has nothing. I don't even know how we got in this tangent, guys, but oh, I know. It's because of these cultures that these people were importing from third world countries. They don't think like us. They don't share their same values. They're not high trust societies. They're very low trust societies. They have it baked into their religion where it's okay for them to lie, cheat, steal, and basically con people that aren't part of their particular religion. Or if you're living in a dominated by their religion, you have to pay a special tax for them not to fuck with you. Could you imagine that here in the United States? They have that right now in Islam. I mean, it's prevalent still. Could you imagine that? Having a Christian society, and we're going to charge, I don't know, this guy that practices Shintoism, but we're going to force you to pay a special tax because you're not a Christian. And if you don't pay this tax, the government will sanction people just to come fuck with you on the daily, and there's nothing you can do about it. Is that a civilization that you want to import? Because that's what we're doing. I mean, it is unconscionable that the biggest donator to a terrorist organization over in Somalia, in Al-Shabaab, who is actually an offshoot of Al-Qaeda, is the Minnesota taxpayer. That is... People need to be serving a hard time for that, for allowing that to happen, especially for this long. That's insane. But that's suicidal empathy. Because we don't want to be racist. I'm not even talking about racism. I'm talking about culture. Yeah. Well, it started with the Romans, right? The Romans went and got a bunch of Slavic people, and they kept going into Europe to get more slaves. That's where it came from. They used to castrate the men. They would rape the women when they were bringing the Irish north. Yeah. White people in slavery, people of color still have slaves to this day. I apologize for nothing. That's what I'm saying, but nobody wants to hear that, man. Lone Wolf, nobody wants to hear that. They just want to hear Whitey's bad. And yeah, we as a people have done some fucked up shit, but not lately. And we ended a lot of fucked up shit. And we paid the price in blood. You realize when we had the American Civil War, we lost an entire generation of men? An entire generation of men to end that practice. We paid that debt in blood and sacrifice. I'm sorry. And that was white people fighting other white people, primarily. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. That's another thing, man. Just people have such a candy-ass view of what history is and how we are today on this earth, and how it's all kumbaya, we're all gonna hug and get along, and how many of these assholes from Europe or even the United States go, I'm gonna ride my bike across the world to show how united we are as a people, and they want to go like Morocco or Turkmenistan or Tajikistan or who gives a fuck a stand, and they're riding their bike through the hills, and they get set upon by fucking local marauders. Their woman gets raped, because they always bring a woman with them for some fucking reason to these Muslim countries. So she winds up getting raped, and then the guy that's with her winds up having to be forced to watch. And then when they finally kill her, they save him for last. They wind up raping him, and they kill him too. Just because you're not from around there, you had no business being there. But by God, you're going to show all the fucking people over here how open-minded and liberal you were, and how safe the planet really is. Guys, we're barely keeping the barbarians at the gates. You just don't understand how awful it really is. You can't free something that never existed, dude. Hate to break your heart. Are you in Western Australia? No, I'm in Texas. See, the ducks, geese, they're not swimming backwards, so I can't be in Australia. See that? They're going forwards. If they were swimming in Australia, they'd be swimming backwards. Yeah, nobody's allowed to visit because the people are so savages. Yeah. Yeah, I forget what it's called, but I know what you're talking about. You know the island's got to be inbred as fuck, man. You wouldn't want them coming off the island anyway. I'm a moron. Read some history. Okay. I have read history. Palestine's never existed. Shut the fuck up. And by the way, whether you like it or not, the Jews aren't going anywhere because they have nukes. The Jews have the nukes. Palestinians are still living in fucking mud huts. All right? It ain't happening. Not happening. They made a big boo-boo by attacking a superior military opponent that was looking for an axe to grind to get rid of your fucking asses. And you gave it to them on October 7th. And then they leveled Gaza. Congratulations. All because you wanted to go on like a bad G.I. Joe episode and you were fucking Cobra coming in a fucking hang gliders and shit. Attacking a fucking concert in the middle of a goddamn desert, can't leave well enough alone. And you decided you wanted to go in there and start raping and pillaging. And of course the Jews finally had a fuck enough. And the rest is history. You did it to yourselves. Straight up. You had no business attacking the Jews on October 7th. Superior military, superior economics, superior everything. You had zero business attacking the Jews. You did, big fat did it anyway. All because you thought you had some kind of fucking brotherhood with the other Islamic countries, that they were going to have some kind of fucking holy jihad. If the Jews retaliated, you figured they were going to come down and save your asses, and it didn't happen. Why? Why did that not happen? Because the Jews had the nukes. Because Jews have nukes and you don't. And they knew that the Jews are not afraid to use them. And they would. You attack Tel Aviv or Jerusalem with your bullshit, and if Turkey comes in and selling their fucking missiles and whatnot, we would have fucking nuked Istanbul. Bye. Anybody else got involved in that retarded shit? Their population centers would go away too. And that would have been the end of it. It's called mutually assured destruction. Because there's always tribal flare-ups around the planet. People in general are tribal, savages, violent, and territorial. We don't like each other, for the most part. I mean, we tolerate people, but for the most part, we're very tribal, and we have an in-group preference. And if you start encroaching on territory, the people get shitty. Sometimes you can defend your territory, sometimes you can't. That's why the borders change. Well, that's why people fight. It's in our DNA. It's who we are as a species. Sad reality, but you have to come to grips with it. And then once you understand that, you can make proper policy around human nature that will actually be effective. The pie in the sky bullshit like socialism was never going to work because it goes against human nature. That's why it's destined to fail. That's why it's failed every time it's been implemented. It always winds up in abject misery, poverty, and starvation. And a mountain of skulls. Can't forget the mountain of skulls. Bingo. The only reason the Kim family is still walking upright in North Korea is because they got the nuke. Straight up. That's the only reason why they exist right now. And that's why we're so adamant about Iran not getting a nuke. Because once they get the nuke, it's too late. So we will keep leveling their mountains and wherever they're trying to hide these facilities, because we're so much technologically superior than these people that we know exactly we know exactly where these world leaders are, right? Every second of the day. The eyes in the sky, they know. They know. They can see a mosquito fart 20 miles up in the air. You know, that's why it's laughable when there's like, oh, these are fishing boats from Venezuela and the Caribbean. Blah. It's like, no, they're not. They watch these. They watch the birds in the sky. Watch these people pack these boats full of drugs, and get on these boats, and we're headed off to these other distribution points in the Caribbean. They knew exactly where these boats were coming from and what was on them. And it wasn't fishing poles and bait and tackle, I can tell you that. People don't want to hear it. They just don't want to hear it. Or some of them are just drug addicts and they're just pissed that the supply of drugs in the United States is going to be less and they're going to have to be paying more for their cocaine and bullshit. Which, cry me a river. I mean, I'm not a crackhead, so I don't give a fuck. So if that Wall Street chud can't get his fix of cocaine so he can feel like he's a man on top of the mountain, king of the hill, because he's fleecing people with penny stocks and stealing their savings, it's no sweat off my balls. I don't care. They can go away. But I'm not being racist. That's the thing. I'm actually in reality not being racist. Because America, what makes America is a bunch of different cultures. What I'm saying is that we all don't get along. And too much diversity kills the country. You have to have homogeneity. You have to have enough people living and inhabiting the same land that work together with common cause. Too much diversity will rip your damn country apart. So when you're bringing people into your country, you want to make sure they have are like-minded with values. Is that awful for me to say, or is that just common damn sense? But you don't want to hear it. You just want to throw a label at me. That's fine. I mean, I'm not going to change your mind. You already made your mind up. Don't really give a shit, though. You're just another rando on the internet. But I'm not wrong. I am definitely not wrong. I mean, I wish you're not wrong in your mind. That's where you are. No, I'm 100% correct on this. You're just living a la la land. You got some kind of kumbaya, candy ass version of what the planet really is. The planet is full of a bunch of goddamn savages, and civilization's holding on by a fingernail. Always has been. It's always easier to take from societies that make something out of themselves. It's easier to sack Rome than to go out and build your own society to make your own, great civilization. You understand? It's easier to try to go take it from somebody else that got their shit together than you doing it yourself, because it actually takes work and effort and the brain power to actually build the infrastructure and the society and the laws and the currency and everything that goes along with it to make everything function properly. You're always going to have marauders and bandits and pirates and the like to try to go out and take from people that have actually done the hard work. It's like Somalia. Somalia's been around since the Bronze Age, and it still ain't worth a shit. Why? They're in a resource-rich area. They're in a major travel lane, especially with the implementation of the Suez Canal. They have great coastlines. Why is Somalia still living like they're in the fucking Bronze Age? Can you explain that to me? Why can't they get along together as a people? How many tribes inhabit that one land? They couldn't figure out how to make common cause in all this time, in 4,000 fucking years. They can't figure that shit out. Why? They're not the only ones, but I mean, they're just on the east coast of Africa. Africa is chock-a-block full of resources, and it has everything going for it as a continent. Why are they having such problems? And there you go, Rick. For how long? That's the question. Looks like you got yourself cut off there, Philip. You want to throw a label at me? Look at Mr. Romero right there. It's like, for me, I mean, especially growing up in Texas, I want nothing but the best for Mexico. You understand? I got nothing love for my Canadian cousins, because we share a border. You want your neighbors to be doing well, right? You don't want a basket case on your border. So, and there's enough cultural there to bind us together as a people to make a North American Union one day. And it's not like a lot of these people coming here from Latin America want to be here. They just want what we have, which is the rule of law. They want a safe place to raise their family and get a job and just live their fucking lives. I get that. I get that. You know, that's why we're helping out Argentina, right? They're getting away from socialism. They brought Milei in. People bitch about a couple of $1 billion to float the guy alone, which we've already made money on, by the way. It wasn't a gift. If you actually listen to Scott Bessett talk about that, you understand what went on there. It was just an open line of credit that we gave them. We've already made money off the transaction. And that's smart. And we want to promote people. You know, if Chile came around because they got away from socialism again, they brought in their right-wing guy because they want friendlier ties with the United States, we should foster that. Because it stabilizes their country. Everywhere that you have socialism and communism, it's a basket case. We don't want that. We don't want that. I said it's the major travel lane through their area. They're going down the Red Sea and that part of Africa, right? They're part of a major travel lane. They can make shit in Somalia, and they can very easily place a cargo container in the ocean, and go straight up north through the Suez Canal and have access to the European market. They should be a rich and prosperous country. You know, 3,000 miles really isn't that far when you're talking about a trade, right? It beats the hell of going all the way down through the south of Africa, all the way up on the west side, and going up that way through Spain and whatnot. Having the Suez Canal right there makes it a hell of a lot shorter, and it's been around for a while. That's the point I was making. And a bully queen. Well, we will have to agree to disagree. I think he's doing a great job for what he was hired to do. They need to free Cuba. We did free Cuba. You realize that? Cuba was ours. It was United States territory. That's how we got Puerto Rico, Guam, Samoa, Philippines. We freed the Philippines and we freed Cuba. And then Cuba was actually doing pretty good until it got to Batista's reign. And then the mob came in. But as bad as the mob was, Cuba was prosperous. And it was a hip place to go. And then we allowed Castro to happen. And the rest is history. Everywhere socialism goes, misery, poverty, and horror goes. Same thing with Venezuela. Venezuela was very prosperous until Hugo Chavez was elected, a democratic socialist. He nationalized, outright stole whole swaths of the economy, and then foreign capital fled, and then everything went to shit, because turns out people don't like having their shit stolen. Who knew? Hard to invest in a country where it takes millions of dollars of training and technology, billions even, just to have some asshole come and nationalize everything and just take it from you. Yeah. And now look at them today. Venezuela is another one of these countries that has everything going for them. Everything. They turned to socialism and everything went to shit. It always happens. Always. Ali Madad. Hello. You're an Austin commie. Well, it is what it is, man. You're propagating an evil ideology. I hate to say it, but your ilk are the true villains of the 20th century. All that shit that went down between World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, till the bullshit we're dealing with today is because of socialism. Mao's revolution, Pol Pot in Cambodia, all of it. nothing but a swath of death and destruction and misery, all because of fucking socialism. Congratulations. You're evil. You may not see it that way, but it's the truth. Socialism goes against human nature. It's never going to work. It never has worked. It never will work. And that's why it's evil, because it's been tried and implemented I don't know how many goddamn times throughout history, and it always has the same results. Every single time. But you think you're going to get it done right this time. Never going to happen. It goes against human nature. You're not going to win over human nature. You're not going to overcome what is embedded in us, in our DNA, our actual DNA. You're not going to overcome that. It is a failed ideology and philosophy. It was an overcorrection in the 19th century with Marx and Engels, because everything was still under a monarchy back then. So they figured if the monarchs and the lords and nobles owned everything, they were just going to put everything on its head and give everything to the people. But that's not exactly what happened, is it? Because with socialism, you got to have a centralized and planned economy and government, and the politicos become the new lords and nobles and monarchs. So all you did was trade one pair of oligarchs for another one, less experienced. At least the monarchies, they were raised from birth to lead, and they were actually from the place that they lived in. They actually gave a shit about the people, so they wanted what was best for their nation because they owned the nation. So they actually had skin in the game, whereas these socialist pukes were just revolutionaries from wherever the fuck, off a pig farm somewhere, didn't know their ass from their elbows, and failed spectacularly. That's why the Soviet Union didn't even last 100 years. Yeah. They don't even have socialism in China right now. It's more. I mean, it's still okay. Fascism is based in socialism, right? It's just not Marxist socialism, but it's still socialism nonetheless. But China really is just run by a bunch of damn gangsters. They don't really have a rule of law over there. They just the political elites just kind of do whatever the fuck they want. It's more akin to what they had under their emperor than anything. Even what the Soviets had. At least the Soviets paid lip service to having like the Dumas, and they actually pretended to give a shit about the people. You know, after Stalin had us hold of more, that is, right? But the guys after Stalin, they're like, oh God, that guy was god awful. We don't ever want to do that again. And but no, it's China's something else. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint what they have. I would just say it's quasi-imperial, if I had to put a point to it. They don't have Social Security. They don't have free health care. They don't have free housing. They don't have free food. On paper, other than themselves calling themselves communists, they don't really follow any communist ideals. Of course, that's how communism devolves, right? It always does the same thing. It's always about authoritarianism. Ultimately, that's what the system is. It's just you get turned into peasants. You have no rights, and you need to listen to your mafia overlords, your politicos, your apparatchiks, and if you don't, well, they disappear you. They get you in a gulag somewhere, which is just their version of a concentration camp. And then you go on there and they sell you for body parts. You know, you need an eye, I get you an eye. You need a liver, I got plenty of livers. Kidney, no problem. You didn't listen to anything I said, dude. I saw Scott Bessen's interview when they all went down. He explained it pretty well. We extended to Argentina a line of credit, and it's not a free loan. So the money we have loaned them so far off that what they borrowed, we have made money on. Go look up the interview, man. I don't have time to sit here and rehash history with you. If you're not going to keep abreast of the subject, don't talk about it. I'll have to tell you, he is more in tune with what he's doing in his position than I am. All I can do is listen to the guy. And it doesn't sound like Milei is out there bitching about it either. So, and quite frankly, if we gave him a lower interest loan that we make money on, and it cuts off Chinese influence from the area because of the Monroe Doctrine, I'm all about it. We should be helping out Latin America because this is our hemisphere. This is our hemisphere. So we should be loaning money to Latin America and bolstering them up and having them owe us favors and shit. And then vice versa, we should be helping propping up their societies to keep their governments from failing. So everyone stays employed and happy. You know? Yeah. That's why I got no problem helping Argentina out. Especially since they're trying to get away from socialism. What's up, Robbie? That describes Trump, corrupt. Dude, your geriatric mashed potato for brains stole his handler stole an election in 2020, and you're going to come at me about corruption? Seriously? You flat out stole an election. It was a soft coup by both sides, by the way, the Uniparty, Republicans and Democrats. The Uniparty didn't want Trump. They flat out stole the election. Facts. Look what recently came out with Georgia. That's just one state. They stole 2020, and we're paying for that hubris. And see, the problem is your side treated that election like it's the fucking goddamn sports team. You don't care that the referee blew a call, made a bad call, because your guys got to keep the touchdown. All right? And we're all suffering for it, aren't we? Massive inflation. Massive illegal immigration. Look what we're having to do just to repair the country from 4 years of an illegitimate government. Look how quickly Biden and his handlers fucked our playpen up. Because it's so much easier to tear down than it is to build. Look at the extreme measures we're having to go through to fix everything. Because Orange Man bad, and you get your guy across the finish line. How'd that work out for you? No, I'm not kidding. I'm being 100% serious here. Like 100%. Fix my teeth? My teeth are fine. Pretty tings. Hello. If this was a damn administration. Yeah. If the mess, tariffs will help bring more jobs here to grow the economy. Yeah, and see, that's the thing, man. That's what's great about being 50, because I remember the 80s. Even though I was a kid, I still remember, even my parents talking or reading, news articles and whatnot, because I was a nerd that way. I kind of remember what life was like prior to NAFTA and where we were after NAFTA. And this whole thing about we're going to turn to a service-based economy and it's going to be fantastic. And, we're going to allow our manufacturing industry to go overseas to be, you know, to get around environmental and labor laws. And it's going to be great because you're going to save $10 on a pair of Jordache jeans. Everyone's going to love it. You'll see. There'll be more jobs. Like, great. You lose your $50,000 a year job at the factory for what? Your $7 an hour job at a coffee shop or a diner somewhere. Oh, because hey, on paper it's a job for a job, but not all jobs are equal, right? And then there's like the jobs that we have left there in the country. Well, we're just going to start importing mass people to compete for your jobs there in your town. So we already lost a bunch of jobs, good paying jobs, and the remainder we have left, we got to fight with the rest of the fucking planet for what's remaining here. And it's like, we're tired of it. And see, these are policies that the Democrats used to uphold. They were the working man's party. They were the populists. They used to give a shit about working class people, but they turned their back on them because they decided, hey, it's easier just to bring in a bunch of people and we'll have them as a voting bloc and we don't have to keep promising them shit like lower taxes or whatever the fuck, because they'll come in as the new voting bloc and we can concentrate on corporate donors because that's where all the money's at. We don't need all these small donation people, these working class people, the hoi polloi, the deplorables. That's why the GOP is a populist party now. Didn't happen by accident. Yeah, we created China. We allowed China to become the power that it is today because we have crony capitalism. I, as a capitalist, you have to understand that there's good and bad with every system, right? So you have to understand the weakness inherent in your own system so you can devise strategies to circumvent it, to make the system work properly. Like our version of capitalism in the United States is predicated on competition, right? Unchecked capitalism has a tendency to create monopolies. And that's what we don't want. We want efficient, economical prices to come down. We want people competing with each other. We don't want monopolies. But we have allowed crony capitalism to take hold, and that's why we're dealing with a lot of bullshit that we're dealing with today. And now we're competing with countries that they have one-party system rule. They utilize slave labor or near enough to it where you really can't tell the difference, and they don't give a shit about the environment. So they can crank out a bajillion widgets to flood your market with, and then whatever domestic product that was in competition they can't keep up because of our wage and environmental laws that they have to. They have to follow while they're here in the United States or Europe or wherever. So that's why everything's turning to shit. And now you have this belligerent, antagonistic government threatening your very way of life, and you still have people out there supporting it. Did we not all live through COVID? Did we not all witness Xi Jinping out there saying that we're going to flood the American people with COVID because we're not going to release the pharmaceuticals and the PPE that we already purchased from them? They weren't going to release it to us. Do we not remember this? I remember this. I don't know why people have such short memories on this. It's like we didn't just I don't know, it's like a memory hold. It was like, oh, COVID never happened. I remember the Communist Party threatening the United States citizen by withholding the shit we already purchased from them. I remember the communists allowing COVID to be unleashed on the planet because they didn't want to shut down the Chinese New Year. They knew they had a problem. And by God, if China was going to suffer because they didn't know what the hell this virus was, they weren't going to keep it internalized in China because they would lose face in market share on the world stage. So if they unleashed it on the fucking planet, everyone suffers together, thereby not losing their spot on the world stage. That's what happened. They could have put the kibosh on this real quick. They decided not to, because if China was going to suffer and fall, by God, they were going to bring the rest of the planet, the world, with them. And they did. But this is the government, and these are the people that people are propagating, saying, oh, these are great. We should be more like China. Really? You think so? It's a terrible mental illness, TDS. Yeah. The coup, but it didn't quite work thanks to Biden. No. It was not. No, it was not Trump. Trump. Do you not realize J6 was staged? Come on, Filbert. Use your brain. It's already been proven. The crowds were infested with undercover feds and Capitol Police. They riled the small part of the protest that made it to the Capitol building. They riled the people up there to attack the Capitol building. You understand? The whole protest was all around D.C. It was only at the Capitol building where things got out of hand, where all the feds were allowing that shit. And mind you, the feds are the ones that opened up the damn door to allow these people in. There was no insurrection. The people were not there armed. They weren't out there hunting politicians. They were pissed because an election was clearly stolen from the people. And both sides of the aisle were looking away because they didn't want Trump back in office. Because he was upsetting their financial apple carts on both sides. Because it wasn't just Hunter Biden on the board of Burisma there in Ukraine, but it was also some Republicans like Mitt Romney's kids were also on that same board with Hunter Biden, and they were all in on the grift, the uniparty. And Trump was ending that. Do you understand what I'm saying? And yeah, and let's mind you, not one of them was charged with sedition or insurrection. They were charged with criminal trespass. You know, there's one guy out there right now, he talked about, he was in solitary confinement for 900 days. That's damn near 3 years in solitary confinement. That is torture. He'd still be there if Trump hadn't pardoned him. There was no excuse for that. You want to charge them with criminal trespass because they fucked up and did a petty crime with a little bit of a property damage? Whatever. Fine. Charge them for that. What they did to those people was unconscionable. Yeah, Citizens United was another one. Yeah, corporations are a living entity and they have rights. That was bullshit. That's John McCain. Of course, John McCain's a rhino. He was never a true Republican. That's what Warren with fucking cancer got his ass. Fuck him. Fuck McCain. Well, because there's a lot of fucked up shit we're having to deal with right now, and people are still living in la la land there, pretty. I don't want to be angry. I'd rather be talking about the Bears whooping the 49ers ass and possibly making the Super Bowl run. You know, winning the #1 seed in the NFC, right? We're already divisional champs, Chicago Bears, and they're playing the 49ers tonight. But if we win out this season, we got 2 more games, and then if the Seahawks lose 1 game, and then we will have the #1 seed going into the playoffs. I'd rather talk about that, but there's a lot of bullshit going on in the world right now, and you should be angry about it because they're trying to steal your birthright from you. They're trying to extract every ounce of wealth remaining in this country before they allow it to collapse in on itself. And the only ones who are going to be suffering are you and me. Yeah, well, it doesn't mean you can't remain vigilant on our watch. Doesn't mean you can't remain vigilant, and when you see corruption and criminality that you can't call it out. Doesn't mean you have to allow it to happen. That was never. I'm not a fatalist like that. Sometimes you can be proactive in keeping shit from falling down. You know, I mean, to me that's just common sense. There is such a thing called maintenance, and both parties are guilty of it. Both parties are corrupt in their own ways. And then again, you have the uniparty, who are the real damn problem. But when you try to call it out as a citizen and people banding together to actually make a difference, to change, see, that's the thing, right? Not everybody on the left is wrong. You know, like the Bernie bros, the Bernie Sanders followers, they're also populist, just like the MAGA people are populist. One's a left-wing populist, one's a right-wing populist. That's why when Bernie was going after Hillary in the primary, and Bernie should have won that, but the DNC primary is so corrupt with the superdelegates, Bernie should have won the candidacy for the Democrats. Anyway, Bernie is a left-wing populist. That's why a lot of Trump's and Bernie's policies are very similar. It's two people eating from the same trough, but at opposite ends of the trough. All right? That's why so many Bernie bros went and voted for Trump his first administration. Because they're talking the same game. Bernie was all about tariffs. He's all about protectionism and saving American jobs. Look what Trump just did for prescription drugs. Now, if Bernie or a Democrat did the same fucking thing, standing up to the pharmaceutical companies to lower prescription drug rates, you guys would be all about it, right? But you're up in fucking arms because Trump's the one that's doing it. That's not a traditional Republican stance. That's populism, baby. And the Bernie supporters should be up in arms, setting up fireworks and do all kinds of crazy shit in solidarity with what's happening with MAGA right now. Bernie is all about deportations. That's why he didn't bat an eye when Obama was doing it. Right? We all agree that there's a problem. The difference is how we fix it, what the solution is, and that's where the rub is, right? How do we fix the problem? We all see the same fucking problem. It's how do we go about fixing it? That's where the ideological shenanigans start. But he's an example, right? But he's the one out there pushing for a lot, because he is a populist. He's a left-wing populist, whereas Trump is a right-wing populist. But it's all populism nonetheless. And we all should essentially be getting along, because as much as the propaganda is that, and Trump is crass, he's crass, right? I've never heard other presidents dropping F-bombs and doing all this and all that, but you understand what they did to him when he left power. He was rocking and rolling his first administration. The economy was heating up, everything great. China unleashes the plague on the planet. And then when he has to cede power, they went after him like they did when he was out of the presidency. And it was uncalled for. But the big fat did it anyway. And now he got back into power because they didn't have COVID to hide behind. And quite frankly, Biden he lost his marbles. Right? He just got too old. We all age differently. Trump is old too, but he's still with it mentally. Anyway, once I was exposed on the national stage, and by the way, people have been saying that for ever since he took office, that Biden wasn't with it. He never should have qualified. But again, it was all about the puppet handlers bringing in their candidate. They all knew he was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. They all knew he wasn't with it. This wasn't something they just sprung on. They chose him specifically because he was mentally feeble, because they controlled him, and that's where the whole auto pen thing came in. Anyway, it's his handlers more than anybody that should be doing time right now in Leavenworth. Yeah, I already agreed with you. Yeah, by John McCain. I get it. I get it. Today's Republican Party is not our grandfather's Republican Party. They weren't populist back then. You know, we didn't start getting a populist movement through the Republican side until we had the Tea Party movement back in 2008. That's where it all stemmed from. MAGA is just an extension of the Tea Party movement, if you remember that. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that Bernie, just like Trump, his candidacy was stolen from him. He should have won the primary to go against Trump back in 2016. But Hillary stole the primary from Bernie. That happened. Because the DNC is embedded, it's rigged because they have a thing called the super delegates in their conventions. It's a rigged system. Yeah, and look what happened. Yeah, you bring up a good point there. Look what happened with Trump had energy under control. We had our energy prices were at an all-time low when Trump's first administration. Biden comes in, he immediately goes after the energy sector, and also we're dealing with 40% inflation. He gets out of power, Trump gets back in, lo and behold, energy is back down, right? It's back down to $2 a gallon for gas if you don't live in a blue state, which is better than what Trump's prices were in his first administration because you're dealing with 40% inflation, right? You lower that price by 40% that you see on the thing now, that's what it would have been in 2016 dollars. And energy is one of those things that affects literally every aspect of our economy. If we don't have cheap energy, then our economy suffers. Everything raises up. Everything. So yeah, it's important to get energy prices down. And that's what he's done. 4 years of damn, and the only reason it's so outrageously expensive in California, you're still dealing with $5 a gallon gas because of state taxes. It has nothing to do with the price of the barrel of oil right now. Because everywhere else in the country that's not a blue state, it's right around $2 a gallon. And they're just straight up gouging your asses over in California. And that's a damn shame because you shouldn't have to be living like that. You just shouldn't. That's all Sacramento, not DC. Trump inherited maybe. I'll be perfectly honest. All these guys are coasting on what Reagan did in the 80s. He had to completely revamp the economy in the 80s because Carter was such a fucking disaster. Carter, they invented whole new words for Carter. The misery index, stagflation. We didn't have that shit prior to Carter, and he fucked our economy up. And Reagan had to go in there and change a bunch of shit. And then, after 30 years of rule, we were able to get the Senate away from the Democrats. We didn't take the House until Newt Gingrich came around in the 90s, and they had been under Democrat control for over 50 years until Gingrich went in there and was able to implement his contract with America. And then we had a booming economy because of that during the Clinton administration until we had the dot-com bubble burst, right? So the advent of the internet was a huge factor, but it overheated. But we sloughed off a lot of dead weight until 2008, and that's when we, for some fucking reason, we allowed the banks to start making these bad loans and bullshit investments in these credit swaps, mortgage-backed securities, and these credit swaps, and they started treating these homes, our homes, like goddamn financial investments instead of a place you can live that's affordable to raise your family. And we're still dealing with a lot of that bullshit. I'll be honest. We still haven't clawed our way out. That's why we're still dealing with a lot of bullshit we are right now with the finances for the houses. And then you import infinite fucking migrants to come into your system, and we're already dealing with a housing crunch. Well, we're just gonna throw fucking 20 million people on your fucking economy or your populace in 4 short years. We're not building 20 million new houses. Well, these people gotta live somewhere, so the fucking the government's going there, start snatching up all the affordable housing for Section 8 to put all these people into, because they're living out of goddamn motels in the meantime. Well, what does that do for the average American that's trying to start a fucking family or move out from their parents' house? All the affordable housing is gone because it got snatched up. That's why you can't get anything less than $400,000 as a Cracker Jack starter home in these fucking major metro areas. That's what happened to California. I have my dad's side of the family is from California, man. He told me stories. I would, I hear it from my aunts and uncles. You could go look at history when Reagan was the governor of California and what life was like there prior to Moonbeam coming in. It was a vibrant, when it was a purple state, it had top tier education that was inexpensive. You had the job market was second to none in California. You could go make it in California, and you would have a wonderful life. You had beautiful weather, and then all of a sudden, Moonbeam gets in there, and it went downhill from there. And then they started importing infinite people from Tijuana to come in, and they wouldn't allow them to build any more infrastructure like a new housing. So they started importing millions upon millions of people, and they didn't build any new houses. Guess what? Property values skyrocketed. They did it on purpose. It was a money grab. And all of a sudden, these people that were living in this area for generations are being priced out of their own fucking communities from people that shouldn't even fucking be there because they snatched up all the goddamn housing. That's exactly why housing's unaffordable in California. That's exactly why. It didn't used to be that way, but it didn't take long to fuck it up. Yeah, SNL. Yeah, that was another bad one back in the 80s. Jesus Christ, yeah. Yeah, that was another bad one. We've had boom and bust cycles, but yeah, there's this rampant. You got to cleanse the the body politic every once in a while because of the corruption. You understand that Cesar Chavez? Do you know who that guy was? You see his name on these fucking street signs every once in a while. Do you actually know who Cesar Chavez was? Do you understand what he was fighting for back in the day? He was Hispanic American, Mexican American, but he was an American. And he was working in the citrus fields and the other farms along with other Latinos that were Americans. And their white neighbors too, because a lot of white people were farmers back then in the 60s. And the farms and the ranches were wanting to import infinite fucking migrants because they could treat them like serf labor to undercut wages of Americans. And Cesar Chavez had enough, and he was marching through the streets of LA. You ever looking at that? You never hear a lot about Cesar Chavez. Wonder why that is. He was American as apple pie. But just like in my industry in trucking, you flood the zone with infinite fucking migrants from around the world undercutting your wages that you and your ancestors fought so fucking hard to get your little piece of the action and to be treated like a fucking human being. Well, yeah, these corporations, you allow them to get away with a bunch of shit, they're going to get away with it. That's why we had the coal miners fight. You guys ever look into that? The coal miner war with Appalachia? Poor white people in, fucking West Virginia, cut off from the rest of the fucking United States. Look at those goddamn coal mines being paid in company script, not even American currency, company script. Living in their company towns, their company homes, buying everything from the company store, and you're locked in, baby. You're locked in. You ain't going nowhere. Because where the fuck are you gonna go? Because you got a handful of company money that you can't spend anywhere except in that fucking town. You got no dollars. You got no greenbacks. And you're far enough away from DC, they could just abuse the fuck out of you. And they did. They got so bad they had to form an armed rebellion to get out from that situation. We need to. Move around Mayflower movers to fucking Florida. His staff moving all around areas of precious Mar-a-Lago, bathtub secured. Filbert, here's the reality. Presidents, every administration has taken home, at least in modern presidencies, they take home files pertaining to their administration. Obama did it. Biden did it. He did it as a fucking senator. You realize that? At least you can make the case that the president could do that because they're the ultimate authority on unclassifying documents. But Biden never had that luxury as a senator or even as a vice president. And we flat out found those fucking files in his garage parked next to his fucking Corvette. Hello? Motherfucker sent the FBI to go raid his political rivals' home to go get documents he was lawfully allowed to have. Just because you get in some pissing match with the archival people. Hello? Biden did much worse. Are we raiding him? And he wasn't even the fucking president. Not then. So, does that make Biden a felon? See, these questions never get answered. Because your guy got across the finish line. You're treating him like a sports team. You don't actually give a fuck about what the rule of law actually says. As long as your guy wins. Right? Which is fine and all, but when the other side does it, you get your knickers in a bunch. Yeah, that's a problem. This is serious shit. This is not the NFL or the NBA or hockey or anything like that. This is serious shit. Lives are on the line. But you're treating this like it's a goddamn sporting event. This is not WWE. This is not the NWO versus the Wolfpack. All right? This is serious shit. Republicans and Democrats serve Israel and the oligarchs, and we get fucked. Well, yeah, they're a tiny country, and they do have a lot of undue influence in our country. That's true. That's true. And they got sold a lot of Christians got sold to this bullshit with dispensationalism, which is, quite frankly, Israeli propaganda. Sorry, not sorry. It is what it is. If you're being fed dispensationalism, especially to the Protestants, know that it's literally Israeli propaganda. You know, sucks to say, but it is what it is. It's not. It's reality, Filbert. It's not a twist. It's not a twist on the facts. It is just the facts. Biden did have classified documents in his fucking garage, right there out in the open next to his fucking Corvette. That happened. And that happened while he was a senator and vice president. Not while he was president. So he committed a felony. That's reality. And that motherfucker sent the FBI to his political rival's home. And good thing that Trump wasn't home, because that would have been a hell of a situation, having a standoff between Secret Service and the FBI. You want to have a constitutional crisis? Because that's where we were heading. We're about to have federal agents firing upon each other. How would that have looked? That would have been some crazy shit. You wanted something on the 11 o'clock news? Maybe federal agents firing at each other. That would have been fantastic. That's what we almost had under Biden. We were rapidly going into a constitutional crisis. What do you think about the fishback guy won in the Florida governor's office? I saw him on Asmongold. I heard he's one of the Doge guys that got in there. I mean, he's speaking my language. He's a younger guy. I like the cut of his jib. He's speaking my language. He's speaking populism. You need some radicals in there that have some good common sense behind them to go in there and rattle things up. I mean, I like what DeSantis is doing for Florida, but the next generation coming in need to carry it further. Need to carry the ball further down the field. DeSantis was a good start, and because of Democratic ineptitude, a lot of Republicans were forced out from New Jersey and New York, and they migrated down to Florida, which is why DeSantis won by 20 points and flipped a lot of historically blue areas red. But the ball needs to keep going further down the field. Guys, we got to change things. Things got the old ways of doing things are done. Our system is literally about to collapse under its own weight. We are damn near $40 trillion in national debt. 40 trillion. Why do you think Trump is doing the things that he's doing right now? You got to spend a little money to make money.
In more areas.
He's trying to. You're not taxing your way out of this situation. You have to grow the economy, and that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to grow the economy. He's trying to get all this foreign investment money to come in so we can grow the economy. So we have the money to at least make the payments on the interest rates, which are already more that we're spending on national security, defense spending, our military, our interest payments on the debt. That's not even knocking a nickel off what we owe. That's just maintaining the interest payments. So we have to have the tariffs to come in to pay down the debt. It has to happen. We have to get the money from somewhere. And they're fighting him tooth and nail. I'm sure quite a bit. He's a multi-billionaire. I'm sure he's paid a lot in taxes. I don't know much about his wife. Look, I mean, he's great for Florida, but when he was running, I mean, once he found out that Trump was running, he should have dropped out, because Trump made DeSantis. No reason DeSantis got into power is because Trump endorsed him. He had a tough road to hoe from his initial campaign. So no loyalty there. I'm not down with disloyal people. I'm sure he would have been fine as a president, and maybe one day he will, because he's still relatively young for a politician. But he did get exposed on the national stage as being kind of a cardboard cutout in some areas. You got to have a little pizzazz. You got to have a little personality when you're running on the national stage. I'm sorry. If you buy foreign goods, Filbert, yeah. Do you not understand how tariffs work? The foreign goods coming in, the importer pays the tariffs up front. You realize that, right? They pay the money up front to the customs and exchange houses. And then if they can get away with it, they're going to try to recoup the costs by putting their product on the market and having the consumer pay for it. But there's no guarantee that product's going to sell, especially if they're going up against a domestic good. So no, we're not paying the tariffs unless we purchase the foreign good. If there's a domestic version available, which is the entire point of having the tariff, you buy domestic, you're not paying that tariff. Meanwhile, that good has already been paid for by the importer. That's how tariffs work, guys. The importer pays up front before they even can put it on the market. Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that Democrats used to be all about. And our economy was strong for it. Yeah, we paid a little bit more money, but we had better quality. And more importantly, that money stayed circulating within our communities, man. It wasn't ultimately going overseas, so China could build another goddamn aircraft carrier to threaten us with. Yes. Maybe, if they can afford to. You hear he talked about this. A lot of those goods from China that we throw tariffs on, the importer are eating the cost of the tariff. They're not even raising the cost of the goods because they know if they try to raise the cost, that the domestic good will be preferred. So even though they're making a smaller profit on the doodad that they're fucking putting on our market, they're still making a profit. So they're eating the cost of the tariff. That's why prices haven't gone up like completely crazy go nutso. Have you not noticed that? A lot of these importers they have such a high profitability margin that they're eating the tariff to keep their market share. You go to Walmart right now. You go to Walmart right now. These shirts, these pack of shirts, they're cheap as hell. Still. A lot of them are eating the cost of the tariff. Instead of making a 300% profit, they're probably making, 100% profit. But they're still making a profit, and it's still more than what they can sell to their own domestic market, so they deal with it. Yeah. Jungle training every aircraft under the sun, old air bases being reopened, Reaper drones, yeah. Yeah, but not to the extent that the people are saying it is. And in some goods, maybe more than others, right? I'm just giving you an example that I witnessed myself here at Walmart. I'm sure if you're buying car parts, you're paying more. But again, if you're buying a part that was made here in the USA, you're not paying a tariff. That's just not how it works, right? You're incentivized to buy domestic. That's the entire point of the tariff. Oh, and by the way, unless the Supreme Court rules against Trump, we're all going to be getting a tariff dividend before the midterms, which I think is pretty cool. It might be a little bit of a bribe, but I don't care. If we all get a little cut of the action and then the rest goes to pay shit off, I don't know. But it's not like they're telling you can't buy a foreign good. It's not like they're closing the economy up. They're just saying you got to pay a little bit more because, again, this is all shit that used to be made here in the United States. You understand that, right? They're selling us back to our own goods that we used to make here in the United States. But because they want to get around labor laws and environmental practices, they're utilizing overseas countries. So they're selling us back to our own shit, basically. So yeah, they should pay. They should pay for that. For trying to get around our laws to maintain a healthy society and not fucking up our environment. Yeah, they should have to pay because the people that stayed here in good faith and they're having to play by our rules and they did it the right way. Yeah, they should be rewarded for that. And quite frankly, some of our industries are of vital national importance and they should be protected, like steel. Straight up. You know. Some are foundational to our nation. Yeah, and we're not talking about like Prada handbags. I'm talking about like steel, aluminum, lithium, whatever, right? National security interests in our economy. It should be protected. Trucking. Trucking is definitely a national security, but they're treating it like our industry like a goddamn third world dumping ground. Turns out, it's not working out so great. As it should. As it should. If your corporation was predicated on a business model of taking advantage of illegal labor, and all of a sudden you're being denied that illegal labor, and your business can't function, you don't deserve to be in business. You're not going to get me to shed one single tear over you. Sorry. You should not have been in business from the very beginning. You were taking advantage of the American taxpayer. You were setting up a system of a second-class citizen, which we fought a whole fucking war over, of eliminating. We don't have second-class citizens, but that's exactly what they have been propagating for the last couple of decades. I don't feel bad for them. Every farm, every ranch, every textile or whatever meatpacking plant, all that shit, they can all go bankrupt. Don't give a fuck. Because what's going to happen is that somebody that is going to do it the right way is going to have capital investment. They're going to come in and create good paying jobs again. They're going to come in and turn that business around. It's going to be a lawful business. They're going to hire people, train them up right. These are positions that will probably have pensions and everything else, the 401ks and medical care and all that shit. And we're not going to have to deal with second-class citizens with our community. That money's going to circulate within our communities, so we can afford things like a decent scale. We can fill a pothole, keep the bridges from failing, be able to afford heat and cooling for our schools and whatnot. It's going to be great. Because chasing the bottom dollar to the bottom of the barrel is not always in the best interest of society. It's not a tax. Again, the importer prepays that money. And they're hoping they can entice an American, in this instance, to purchase the product. But again, if there's a domestic product, you're not paying for the tariff. But that tariff has already been paid by the importer. So there's no guarantee they're getting their money back. I don't know how many times I have to explain it. There's no guarantee they're getting that money back. That's how tariffs work. The money is prepaid. When they hit the fucking shores, they have to go to the customs exchange house, and they got to pay that tariff. But the declared value of whatever that product is before it hits our market, they got to prepay that, whatever percentage is, before it even gets off the fucking boat. Once they pay that, then they can start shipping it up, taking it off the boat and shipping it to warehouses. But you as the American citizen, if you're buying domestic, if you have a domestic option, you are not paying a tariff. If you absolutely can't live without that foreign good, and that's your right, that's your money, you're just going to pay a little bit more for it. And that's the way human commerce has been going around since Babylon was a place that you could find on a map. Everyone had tariffs. Everyone. Yeah, that's the big problem with it, man. Yeah, farmers, ranchers, all of them, they love illegal labor, right? Illegal labor is not going to rat your ass out to OSHA. They're not going to talk about deplorable working conditions. They're not going to talk about people getting injured on the job. All that just seems to go away. Who are they going to go run to? Who are they going to bitch to? Because they bitch, they know they're going to be deported. No, those business owners should be doing jail time right now. I'll know they get serious about it when I start seeing business owners being arrested and doing time for utilizing illegal labor. I think we're almost there. Every once in a while, I'll see a news story crop up. But when we start seeing business owners being arrested en masse and their businesses being confiscated, I will know that we're really serious about fixing this fucking problem. Because we should not have second-class citizens within the United States. Should never have been allowed. Period. Should never be a thing. A personal save than a personal clone. Dude, it's just, we're speaking the same language, Filbert, right? It's the solution that's different, but you have to understand reality. All right? Look, you seem like a nice guy, and I appreciate you showing up, but it's just some of the shit that you think you know is just factually incorrect. And it's not entirely your fault because there's a lot of propaganda out there. For example, the whole thing about tariffs. Right? They're trying to say these crony capitalists are going to be out there saying that it's a tax on the American public. It is not. It is not. It is prepaid by the importers. You buy domestic, you have not spent one dime on a tariff. Not one. They hope to recoup their costs by putting their product on the market and enticing you to buy it. But that's not a guarantee. All right? I don't know what else to say about the subject. The state should seize the means of production. Well, if your business is a detriment to and is running afoul of the law, sure. I mean, is the state seizing the means of production when we're, I don't know, busting a sex slave sting operation, or are we seizing the means of production when we take the local drug dealer off the streets because we arrest them? I mean, I'm sure that they did something for a little bit for the economy, but they were running completely afoul of the law, right? So it's like they're no different. These farmers and ranchers hiring illegal labor are no different than a drug dealer in the street poisoning our American youth. You're just being straight up about it. They're setting up their little fiefdoms, their own little enclaves, and paying people pennies on the dollar so they can shovel more money in their bank, but they're running afoul of the law, man. It's tax evasion, straight up. Straight the fuck up. And if you allow these corporations to get away with it, they're going to do it. That's the point. You have to bring these people under heel. You have to get them right with the law. Now, if people just follow the damn law, a lot of this wouldn't be an issue. But we have too many people that don't give a fuck about the law. They're ideologues. And as long as they get, that's like these activist judges, right? That's why this judge is about to do time. Because the whole thing about what she was doing with the illegals and the ICE raids there at the courthouse. Activist judges, you're not following through with the rule of the law, and judges are supposed to be arbiters of the law. They're not. They're ideologues, and they're setting up their own little fiefdoms. A lot of them are quite frankly going to do time here before the end of Trump's terms. I mean, look at that judge in New Mexico. I mean, it wasn't just this other one, this chick. There was this guy in New Mexico. He had a fucking illegal living in his house. He got busted. It's like, hello. Let's see. Let's make sure I didn't. Oh, thanks, Greg. Sorry I missed you. I'm having to go back and look through some of the comments. I get to run on my mouth and I can't see because I got glare on the screen. We ain't getting shit, homie. No Doge dividend. I don't know. Thanks, man. I'm trying. That's why I put some pictures up on the community post, because people kept fucking with me with my neck. So I had to show them a little something extra to get them to shut up. they think all this just happened miraculously on its own because of one surgery, not maintaining a diet or actually getting exercise and all that in there. No, it just happened. I didn't do any work, guys. It's just I got to be like this naturally, and I didn't do anything to deserve it. These fucking idiots. I hope you've been well, man. But yeah. So how are y'all doing? I think I've griped enough about it. What are y'all up to? Y'all looking forward to the new year? I gotta start doing this on StreamYard again, so I can bring people up, so you can have so people can talk to each other. I keep forgetting to do that. I used to pay for it, but they got awfully proud of their service. I'm like, nah. But I still think they have a free option for a couple hours a month. Company jar is where it's at, as you will know. I'm doing all right. Now, I will admit, for my industry, for what I'm doing, the bottom fell out starting the week prior to the Thanksgiving. But they're telling us that we're going to go through the holidays. It's just because of the customers we service on this account. And but once we get past the new year, they said they're going to have a hell of a lot more demand on our services. At one customer I like to go to is doubling their testing that they're doing, so that means that should be good steady work, unless they hire too many people, and then we get fucked when things slow down again. But we'll see what happens. I am 50. How old are you? Yeah, I know what you're saying there, Tom. Dude, are you still doing those live feeds with the guy with the cowboy hat? I can't remember his name, but I don't seem to be getting any notifications of you going live with that guy anymore. What the hell was his name? It seemed like y'all had a good thing going on. I hope you're still doing it. I don't, for whatever reason, I'm not getting notifications for it anymore. Oh, he said, hi, how are you? My bad. I thought you said, how old am I? Bad eyes and glare don't work well together, man. Sorry. I'm doing great. I'm actually enjoying the day and watching some ducks. You got a turtle right there. I don't know if you can see him. His little head poking out. Too much whining about not enough pay, having to pay for parking and ELD rules. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's only so much you could talk about, right? That's the problem with trucking content, is you only could talk about so much before it gets stale. At least with politics. That's why I like talking politics, man. I don't even really like the trucker drama anymore. I mean, there's especially during the Trump administration, there's always something going on. Like, always something new going on that you can talk about that has actual, real, consequential events going on that's going to affect our daily. It's a trip. But yeah, the people bitching about ELDs, it's like, dude, it's the same rules that you had to follow with the paper logs. They're just keeping you honest. Yeah, that's all it is. They're not going to allow you to cheat the system anymore unless you're working for Super Ego, and they create you a whole ass other profile they can switch up with you. Until that catches up with them. I hope it does sooner rather than later. I do not like that company. Burger Helper still pimping them out. Bullshit ass company. Yeah. Yeah, some of the parking places get out of hand, but I don't know, if you're with a reputable company, they pay for the parking. You could just charge it back to them, or they give you a company credit card. You can pay for it that way. I mean, frankly, if you're an owner-operator, you just write that off of your taxes. I mean, it really shouldn't be that big a deal. You just made $800 to $1,000 for that day, having to pay $15 is like, whatever, right? They give you a safe place to park for the night. But the pay, yeah, that's well, I mean, you know what's going on. Overcapacity, especially because everyone got in because of COVID, because everyone was making $10,000 a week. And then people bought on the high, and now they can't sell, so they have to stick around, otherwise they're going to take a huge loss, so they're trying to tough it out. And then they flood the zone with a bunch of fucking illegals. And we're just now doing something about the problem, but it had been going on for years. So it's it depresses wages, which is the entire point, because they don't respect our industry, Tom. They never have. It's just now that we're getting some pushback and getting a little of our own back, and it's about damn time. And if California is not careful, Duffy will decertify California from issuing federal CDLs. They can't stop them from doing the intrastate stuff, but if you have a California CDL, they may just say, it's intrastate only. You can no longer participate in interstate commerce, and you're stuck within the confines of California. And even if Oregon and Washington State wanted to allow California driver's licenses for CDLs to be valued or recognized, they still wouldn't be able to do it because of the interstate commerce clause. They're like, California's not careful. They keep fucking around. I mean, Trump would not be opposed to decertifying California, and then everyone with a California CDL is going to be fucked. Could happen with Illinois, too. Pritzker, I mean, man, it wouldn't be the first Illinois governor to go to jail within the last 20 years. I'm just saying. The thing is that it's still on the driver. Only the driver could certify those logs. Yeah. There's this guy on the internet, kind of looks like you. He says you need to specialize. Then we're of like mind then, because I've been preaching that for a long time. Look, if we're going to start talking a little bit of trucking, I don't mind. I think I've bitched enough about politics, but here's the thing. Trump knows that automation's coming with the robo-trucks. It's coming. So what this purge is all about is getting rid of a lot of the dead weight to save jobs that's going to remain for American citizens that want to remain in trucking. These people being ripped out of trucking aren't necessarily going to be replaced by other drivers. They're going to be replaced by robots. So, again, for like the 11th billionth time, I would highly recommend getting your hazmat and focusing on a hazmat job while there's still some around before they all get gobbled up, because while the foreigners can't pass the background check, so they can't get the endorsement, and there are no states that I'm aware of at this current moment that allows robo trucks to haul hazmat materials. So it is the one oasis that we have to protect you from automation right now. Things could always change, but as we stand right now, robots cannot haul like hazmat at all. There are many good carriers out there that pay well. The problem is everybody wants to be a lease operator or a business owner. No, not in California. I don't it is what it is, man. It's just it's just like any other shitty businesses out there. They took advantage of people with predatory lending, and it got out of hand. And this is something I don't knock California for. I think AB5 was justified, honestly, because there was too many predatory carriers out there taking advantage of people that were trying to get around labor laws, right? Because you were a company driver and everything but name only, and they wanted to get away from not having to pay your benefits or your workers' comp or your 401k or any of that. They just wanted they wanted to pay you company driver pay while thrusting all the risk onto that individual, thinking that they're going to own that truck one day. Not to say it never happens, but it's the exception, not the rule. And a lot of people lost everything. Entire life savings sinking into these fucking bullshit deals, thinking that by God, they're the one that can make it work. The last guy was an idiot, but I'm not an idiot. I'll make it work. It's just the whole thing is it's designed for you. It's not designed in your favor. It's always the carrier's favor. Well, like I said, if you get into hazmat hauling, even OTR, automation can't touch it because the robots can't haul hazmat. That's what I'm saying. Hazmat is going to be the last man standing in trucking. But yeah, if your bread and butter is going from one Walmart distribution center to the next, that's going away. If your bread and butter is LTL doing shuttle services at night, that's going away. P&D is still going to be good. It's local, but you're making like 15, 20 stops a day, so that you can't fully automate that. But the shuttling, yeah, that's going away. DC to DC is going away. I mean, you're still going to have your regular shippers, but I mean, we'll see where it goes. But you're right. A lot of that's going to be gobbled up. All the low-hanging fruit's going to be gobbled up. So just plan accordingly. I can't claim to have all the answers, but that is an answer for right now. If they change the legislation to allow the robots to haul hazmat, then nothing I can do about it. But as it stands right now, that's the only thing that's not going to be affected. Right. So they're still having to pay for a driver. Right, it's not fully autonomous, and quite frankly, unless it's fully autonomous, you're wasting your time. And I haven't seen a Texas autonomous truck hauling hazmat. I have to double check that, Tom. I don't know if that's right. But even still, it's a job, right? They do some of these Aurora trucks going up and down Texas. They're driverless. Some of them are. I know for a while they PACCAR forced them to put a driver back in there, but for a while they were driverless. And that's some scary shit, to be honest, because there's a lot. I'm sorry, there's too much shit that can happen on the road. That the algorithm is only as good as what has been programmed to know. And there's always something new happening on the road that robot is not going to be able to, because it can't reason. Robots don't reason. They don't think. They're programmed to handle a certain situation a certain way when those parameters are presented. So if a new parameter is introduced, it doesn't have common sense to figure shit out. So I don't know how that's going to work. Shit, I'm almost out of battery power. Alright, guys. I think we hung out for enough. Pretty sure y'all get tired of listening to yap anyway. Thank you for being here, though. I had a good time. It was very cathartic for me to come out here and yell at my camera. I hope you were mildly entertained at the very least, and we'll do it again sometime. You guys take care. Peace out. Oh, and Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Bye-bye.